Well, good evening. For those of you that don't know, I'm Lauren Fannin. I'm the media coordinator here at Kingsway Church. I am in one of my natural habitats here at the camera. Typically, I'm at a different position, switching between camera views for our, Sunday morning and Wednesday night services. But today I'm coming at you for a little change of scenery here at the camera. This is what one of our setups looks like. And, we're coming to you where you're at tonight because, unfortunately, for our midweek services and even our Sunday morning services, they've kind of been canceled in a way, canceled in live person meetings. So, because of that, we're coming to you the best way that we know how, through Facebook Live and through YouTube if you're watching on there after we've put it out there. And we're just making the most of what we have been dealt with the COVID-19 coronavirus, the pandemic that has affected all of our lives in one way or another. So here we are tonight, and I get the privilege today of getting to speak to you on some of the things that have been on my heart regarding everything that's been going on. I know your email inbox is probably full of every company that you've ever subscribed to emails for telling you how they're dealing with coronavirus. And, I know that mine's like that. I have no doubt that yours is as well. So, one of the ways that we're dealing with that tonight, of how Kingsway Church is handling it, is we're coming to you directly through video to stay connected and in community with each other so that when we are finally able to meet back again together, we won't have missed a beat. So thank you for joining us tonight and for taking your time to make the effort to stay connected. You may be going stir crazy in your house if you have, if your job is shut down or if you've been laid off or, you've been mandated to stay home. We're here to bring you some encouragement tonight. So thank you for joining us. I had something specifically that I had just been thinking about the past couple of days regarding all of this mess that's going on. We've talked about fear. We've talked about how, the uncertainty of everything that's going on. And still, I'm sure that there's a measure of that still is going on and that we have to deal with and that we have to fight off. But also, I think in addition to that, with the pandemic, things in our lives don't necessarily quit happening. Plans that you've made, you may have made plans, for this spring, this summer, that you're just unsure of if they're still going to be able to happen. And that's kind of what I want to speak on today is, navigating life through this pandemic and how to go about it in a way that, that we still honor the Lord and in a way that still brings hope and encouragement to our hearts and our minds. So I don't know if you guys know this or not, but I'm engaged and I have a spring 2020 wedding at the end of May. And to be perfectly honest, we don't know what that's going to look like. We don't know if our reception site is still going to be able to serve food because as of right now, all the restaurants are shut down except for carry out only. And it's just a lot of navigating the unknowns and not knowing exactly what's going to happen. And if you've ever been a bride or been married, I'm sure that you understand all of the stress and the work and the plans that go into putting on, your most important, most looked forward to day ever. And for you, it might not be a wedding this spring. Maybe it is your senior baseball season. Maybe it's your senior softball season or track season. Maybe you had plans to go on a big trip this spring or this year. Whatever it may be, there's a million different things that people plan for, spend a lot of time and money and preparation in looking forward to this big thing that you have, upcoming, that you've looked forward to. And just to level with you personally, I have looked forward to my wedding for going on 28 years. And that's not to say that it's not going to happen come hell or high water. It is happening. The wedding, the marriage, it's going to happen. But it's most likely going to look a little bit different than maybe what we had originally planned for. It might work out exactly the way we had planned, but only time will tell. And for you, maybe you already know that your life isn't going to look exactly the way that you had planned for it to look in these coming weeks and months, and you're having to deal with the loss of what it feels like that has been taken from you. Some of those things you can't get back. You can't get back a senior season of sporting events, and as much as that hurts the person involved playing the sports, I'm sure it equally hurts the parents to not be able to see their kid be involved in that last season, to go out with a bang, and then to, whether their plans are to enter college or the workforce, you might not be getting that sweet ending on that senior season, or whatever it may be. And that is extremely unfortunate, and it is a loss. And I think that the losses that we, are going through and that we have to deal with, they need to be grieved, because as much as we want to live just a happy, joyful life like with the Lord and through our walk with Christianity, the thing is that doesn't mean that we're not going to have things that come up in our lives where we have to deal with them when they turn out as less than what we wanted them to. And no person living on the planet right now has ever gone through what we're going through right now with a pandemic, where it affects almost every part of our lives. And, none of us know exactly how to navigate it. None of us know how to deal with the losses that it brings. We deal with other losses in life, but it's kind of like maybe more expected, the losses that we've already experienced. And this is something that is totally unexpected. So I just want to encourage you today with something that I've been encouraging myself with. As I was kind of navigating last week through my thoughts and feelings on what does this mean for me come, the latter part of May for my wedding. And, I went through a lot of, in the span of a very short time, and now I'm kind of like leveling out a little on what it's actually going to mean. But, going through all those different emotions last week of like, well, I guess we're just going to have to cancel the wedding and postpone it to who knows when. But then getting a little bit more reasonable, I thought, you know what? We're not canceling it. We're getting married regardless. It might look different, but regardless of whatever else is going on, it's still going to happen. So through that, I just found myself through different things that happened last week, I found myself really meditating and thinking on the verse in Psalms, it's Psalms 118:24, and it says, "This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it." For some reason, that verse just kind of popped up in my head last week. I don't know if it was from, the childhood song when you're in children's church and, you hear the song, "This is the day, this is the day that the Lord has made." I don't know if it was that or what it was, but it just came into my heart and my mind, and I thought, as I was going through and dealing with all of those emotions of the potential, just disappointment that you face when something that you planned for so long may or may not happen the way that you want it to. I was thinking, these days, this pandemic that we're living through, through the chaos of what COVID-19 is, this is not something that God didn't know of. It's not something that took him by surprise. He knew of it from day one, from before day one. And these days that we're living in are still days that the Lord has made. And we're called, like the psalmist says, to rejoice and to be glad in it. And that doesn't mean that God caused this virus or that he is the author of it. It doesn't mean that at all, because he's not the author of it. We know that the enemy comes to steal, to kill, and destroy from our lives based on John 10, and that Jesus comes to give us life and to give us life more abundantly. So we know that he didn't cause it, but we also know that the day itself, he made it. And any day that we get to live and have breath in our lungs is a gift and something that we are to cherish. And I think living in the light of this pandemic, it brings that even more to light, that in spite of all of the chaos that's going on around us, this is still the day that the Lord has made, and we're called to rejoice in that, regardless of circumstance. It doesn't say to rejoice in it only if everything happens the way that you want it to. We're called to rejoice in it, just period, just, as it is. And so I've really been encouraging myself with that this week, that I'm going to rejoice, and I'm going to make the decision that whatever happens, I'm going to rejoice in it. And that's something that's helped carry me through just kind of the uncertainty of everything that's going on. And then, we're also told in Romans 8:28 that God works things together for our good. In light of just chaos and, destructive things that are going on around us, I think it's very easy to think, that this is the end all be all, that there's not a light out of this, that just here we are, our economy's going to be awful, that we're not going to get jobs back. But that's not necessarily the case. We're told in Romans 8:28, and we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him and who have been called according to his purpose. God works all things together for those that love him. I don't know about you, but I know that I love God, and I know that he's going to turn this whole situation, and he's going to work it for my good in whatever way, shape, form, or fashion that looks like. I don't know what it looks like yet, but I know that at the end of the day, he's going to work it together for my good. And whatever loss it is that you're facing, or just potential difficulty with something that you've planned, that maybe it's already, you've planned it and it hasn't happened already because of what we've already been going through, he's going to work it together for your good. And also, I've been also encouraging myself with this verse, and I think it could also encourage you as well. In Philippians 1:6, it says, being confident of this, that he who began a good work in you will carry it on to completion. What he began, he sustains. That's my little ad lib of that verse. What he began, he will sustain. And, whatever it is that God has began in you, a calling that he's placed on your life, a job that you've been given, whatever it is, whatever he's called you to, what he's began in your life, he's going to sustain it. And there's no pandemic, there's no virus, there's no destruction that's going to prevent him from being true and faithful to his word. And, that's just the encouragement that I've found, this week, and just kind of looking ahead at what we may be faced with. The word says in John that we're going to face trials and tribulations, but to hold fast, because he has overcome the world, meaning our Heavenly Father. So I just want to encourage you tonight, whatever it is that you're facing, that you're looking at, that feels like a loss or like a disappointment or just discouragement, that to take heart, because this is not the end, and it's not, we're not going to end on a sour note. We're going to end on a good note, because we know that God is true and faithful, trustworthy, and his promises come to fulfillment, because he's a trustworthy Lord. So with that said, thank you guys for joining tonight. I pray that this was an encouragement to you, and that through all the panic and the fear that can be caused and created by things that go on in our world, I just pray that you are encouraged, and that you look upon this as just another way to grow even stronger in your faith and in your relationship with the Lord. And we're going to get through this. We're going to get through it, and we're going to come out on the other side, and God's going to be with us. Thanks for watching.